DeSantis launched his White House bid on Twitter, which drew a lot of questions whether or not Elon Musk was supporting Ron DeSantis. The tweets that I've seen has been pretty transparent that Elon has said that he would love for any presidential candidate to host any number of events, including a bid for the White House on Twitter. So I think DeSantis just happened to be the one to do it. To give everyone a little bit of background to who Ron DeSantis is, now I assume pretty much everyone knows who he is, but for those of you who didn't know, he is the Florida governor. Before he was governor, he was a congressman for the state of Florida and actually had a large part in creating the Freedom Caucus, if you've heard of it. They had a large part in delaying the vote of Speaker McCarthy earlier this year. He also ran for Senate in the Florida, or rather in the U.S. Senate for Florida, lost that, and then ran for governor and won by about 0.4% in 2018. In 2022, he won by over a million votes by a landslide. And this has made him, in many people's eyes, the front runner for the Republican ticket over Trump because of the fact that he can bring so many people from the left as well as independents to the Republican side. But we're going to get more into that in just a second. Some of the hallmarks of Ron DeSantis' career, there's kind of three that I think when I think of his career. And I think that people need to think about this when considering whether or not to vote for him, whether you're a Republican or so you're looking at the primary, or you're looking at him already as the Republican nominee against Biden. The three things that he's kind of known for is first, he sent tons of migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Well, I say tons. He sent a few hundred migrants to Martha's Vineyard, as well as a few other locations, I believe. He's very hard on immigration. He got a lot of press for that. I personally thought it was a brilliant move. Liberals obviously hated it and said it was very that it was a human right abuse because he was literally shipping people places, and the right obviously really enjoy it because the border being open is a big problem right now. The two other things that he is known for is fighting gender ideology. So obviously earlier last year, we heard a lot about the Don't Say Gay bill. And I want to be really clear. This is called the Parental Rights and Education Act. I wrote that down. I want to make sure that that's clear. One of the biggest things that media does is that they, especially on the left, progressives have this goal of changing verbiage and jargon to suit their agenda. We saw it with recession. Recession has always meant a decreasing GDP in two consecutive quarters. And then suddenly, when it happened under the Biden administration, we saw that they changed the definition. Well, we saw it with this because they don't want to hear parental rights. That sounds, pretty good. So we say, don't say gay instead. And that somehow is, supposed to rile people up. So anyway, he's very popular for that. He's very well known for that, as well as fighting Disney and gender ideology, which is happening right now in Florida. The other thing that he is most known for, and going forward into, and I'll talk about this more in a second, going forward into the 2024 election, this is probably the thing that he will touch the most on because it's where he differs from Donald Trump the most, which is that he was probably the most libertarian governor on COVID. We saw Florida had a 2-week lockdown just like the other states did, but pretty much like in early May, they were pretty much normal. I know the beaches closed for a little bit, but after a long time, they opened. And, we saw Democrat lawmakers vacationing there because they'd much rather be in Florida where they can go to the beach and go to restaurants than be in New York where it was a living hell for a year. But I think that is probably something that DeSantis is most known for out of anything and will really carry him forward into this campaign. People they've been very critical recently of Ron DeSantis' marketing strategy. Most people agree he has very high approval numbers. We'll look into them in just a second, but they agree that he is great at governing, but they worry that he has a marketing issue. And so I think that this is why he did it on Twitter. So if you didn't hear what happened, he went on Twitter. They essentially had a live event where essentially you could stream it and just listen to it. And it was Elon Musk. It was Ron DeSantis, as well as one other, and I forgot his name. But he was the one kind of hosting the event. And it was very disorganized. I tuned in and listened. It was it was unclear who was speaking. And in fact, there were so many people who logged on, about 700,000, just under 700,000, in fact, that the whole thing just crashed and it literally melted. And so there was about a 20-minute delay, which is not great, especially when you're like you're literally trying to be the president of the United States. Not great look for Ron DeSantis, but an even worse look for Elon Musk, which, by the way, I am an Elon Musk fan, but not a great look for him when he just bought Twitter. He's trying to prove that it is an app that can compete with Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And it wasn't a great look when 700,000 people fried everything. Now, after that happened, like, it took 20 minutes. There were still a lot of people listening in, but it was still really disorganized after that. And like the announcement itself was kind of lackluster. It was literally a guy saying, well, I think Ron DeSantis, you have an announcement for us. And then Ron DeSantis was like, well, I am going to run for the to be the Republican nominee, to be the president of the United States. And it was kind of okay. After that, it got much better because Ron DeSantis laid out the things that he's doing in Florida that that's basically his pitch. He's basically saying, look how awesome Florida is. I'm going to bring this to the United States. And we talked about was really awesome. I mean, he had facts. He didn't slander people, though there were a couple digs at Donald Trump, which we'll talk about. But for the most part, he just kind of spoke facts. He spoke to issues that I think most voters really care about: immigration, the economy, crime. That's kind of what he focused on, and it worked out reasonably well. Now, I don't think that Ron DeSantis overcame his marketing problem, unfortunately. But I do think he made an improvement in the fact. I think going to Twitter was actually the right move. I think this was smart. I also think having an ally in Elon Musk is wise, especially as Elon Musk is getting more politically active, as he's kind of emerging as this moderate who doesn't like Joe Biden and could potentially, I don't think he will, but potentially in Ron DeSantis' mind, he could endorse him in the future, which would be a huge endorsement. So I thought that was a good move. I think it appeals to younger voters as well as independents, but it wasn't executed perfectly. Now, on their part, what Ron DeSantis can say is we had so many people tuning in that it fried the circuits. Like, we were so good, we're so popular right now that like it literally didn't work, which is actually a pretty good pitch. That's why I think it's more on Elon Musk, that he should have been more ready for it, and hopefully they'll learn from it. And in the future, they can have candidates of all parties and beliefs go on and have successful launches.